final qualifying match, and spawning in the top right hand corner of Alkion, we have our South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Gaimin Gladiators. I was smudging too soon. He still has one final chance here to bounce back. Did just get knocked down by Björn, but this is the final qualifying match, the final qualifying spot. We have SHIN. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And this is where I have to like repeat myself a little bit and be like, yo, Classic and SHIN, they both deserve to be in GSL, and they do deserve to be in GSL. I know that Classic has had some rough performances in ESL Open Cups recently. I know he has had some rough performances going down in early rounds, but for those who weren't here a couple of days ago in Kung Fu Cup, do you know who won Kung Fu Cup? Week number 1. I mean, am I thinking of Kung Fu Cup, or am I thinking of something else? Let's double check here before I misspeak. Now, yeah, do you know who won Kung Fu Cup a couple of days ago? All the StarCraft is all blending together. I was like second guessing myself. The finals of Kung Fu Cup this week was a best of 5 between Classic and Rainer. Classic and Rainer. And Classic, he clowned all over Rainer. It was crazy. Classic, he took Rainer down 3-1. It was very impressive. Classic had a very impressive performance against Rainer. Again, showing that Classic, there's a reason why he is one of the best Protoss in South Korea. And likewise, again, SHIN, also one of the best Zergs in South Korea. And I guess this really emphasizes how brutal GSL is, how cutthroat it is for both SHIN and Classic to be in the final qualifying match. Only one will advance on. Aye. Let's go. So now it's going to be a gate expanded to Cybercore. Standard opener here out of Classic. SHIN going for a hatch gas pool. Standard opener from our Zerg player. Oh, the SHIN versus the Chin. We need some fan art. I love that. I love the idea of like of SHIN and Classic like powering up, getting ready for their special move. Recently, I opened up our WTL box, the World Team League gift box from last season, and they have fan art of Serral and Solar. They have fan art of Serral and Solar, and they photoshopped Solar's face over Ken. Sorry, over Ryu, and Serral over Ken. Because if you remember, Solar was the Serral Slayer. Like, Solar was the MVP of that season of WTL, because he was able to beat Serral consecutively and win it all for on-site gaming. So they had some fan art of Solar and Serral as Ryu and Ken, and I'm picturing the same thing, except instead of like punching each other, you have SHIN with his SHIN and Classic with his SHIN. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We need it. We need that to happen. But sorry, I need to take a photo of it. I need to post I need to post the fan art of Solar and Serral, because I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know that was in the gift box. I was like, wait, what? It's like, what am I looking at? Oh my god, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I'll tweet it in a couple of days. I'll tweet it after today's broadcast if I remember. Meanwhile, Oracle does slip into the main base. Gonna get a couple of drone kills. Queens are in position. Only 2 drones go down. We get some hull damage done, and Classic does back off. Behind this, we're getting to our third CC. Sorry, our third Nexus. Getting into our triple Oracle opener. Everything looking as it should here from Classic. Just going triple Oracle into a third base. Standard build out of our Protoss player. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy out of Classic yet. Meanwhile, likewise, SHIN is just happily droning, settling into a 3-base setup. Queens are moving out, and so far everything's, I mean, we're getting into the mid game. We're getting into a standard ZVP. Standard for now. Oracles, they dip in, they get another 2 drones. Not bad, getting a 3rd drone as well. 5 in total. Good damage dealt here by Classic, punishing SHIN for avoiding that spore. There's a spore in the main, there's a spore at the natural, no spore here at the 3rd base, and Classic is able to gain some value here. As he's not done, we're following this up with a 3rd Oracle and with 5 Adepts. Again, this is kind of the standard follow-up here. If the Protoss player doesn't lose any Adepts early on, then we can go for a 5 Adept push. 5 Adepts and 2 Oracles. And we're going in between the bases. Can we get some more economic damage done? Can Shin keep up? Roach Warrant's on the way. Oracles are coming from behind. The Queens are out of position. 3 more drones go down. Once again, punishing the lack of Spore. That's what, 5 drone kills here in total at the third. Adepts, they threaten a shade. They should not commit. There are plenty of Lings to keep up. As Classic still maintains all of his Oracles. Poking in once again. Headed towards the main. Adepts, they're backing off. Wise choice. After seeing all these Lings, we just back off with the Adepts. We're racing back home. And we get here to the main base. Shield batteries on the way. We're in position just in time, and the Lings, they do nothing. And Shin, are we going for an all-in, by the way? We are! I was curious. Overload speed just finished. Overload speed is done. We're cutting workers here at 52. It's going to be a 3-base all-in out of Shin. Technically a sub 3-base all-in because Shin has pulled workers. He is not fully saturated here at the natural. Drones aren't going down. Oh, it's massive stasis in the main! Massive stasis trap as well. Shin's economy is in shambles, but we're going all in anyway. We're going, sending everything across the map. Lings, Roaches, Queens, and Ravagers. It's all or nothing here for Shin. And Classic back at home. What do we have to defend? We have 1 shield battery at the third base. We run into the army. We're forcing a recall. You force a recall. 1 Stalker gets picked off. Again, only 1 shield battery here at the third. It could be bowed down. Yeah, Ling reinforces. They come in for a surround. They catch some of these Stalkers. Assaults around here from Shin. And Blink isn't done, by the way. The Biles will connect. Overcharge still putting in some work, but we take down every single Stalker. And Shin, it looks like we have done it. Shin, he was struggling against the harassment. It was a good start at a Classic. But Classic, he did not realize that Shin didn't even saturate his natural, that he was cutting workers, that he had to cut drone production. And we break the third. Third base has been broken. 15 drones go down. Probes even. Now, Classic does have Blink. Finally, but too little too late. We're not saving the Nexus. And now Shin drones. Now he's droning up. Oh, 4th base is on the way, but it's going to be cancelled. Should be cancelled as Shin is going to be focusing on the natural. That is Nartosis Pylon. Uh-oh. The Oracle. No! Oracle almost gets piled down. Shin going to be pulling back. But again, his reinforcements, they have controlled the 4th base. That's another kill at the 4th. Queen's Egg jumps into the main, denying any kind of mining. Classic is down to 1 base economy. Down to 1. That pylon is so vulnerable. There we go. We go for the Biles. The pylon, it's so low. It's so close. What a mass Mappy. We bust into the base. And the pylon falls. We depower everything at the natural. Probes are going down. GG gets called. And Shin takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Again, Classic had an amazing start. He had an amazing start. He was popping off, killing drones left and right with his Oracles, with his Adepts. He was being very careful as well, not losing a single unit. Very impressive harassment there at a Classic, but he did not scout the natural. He did not realize that we were cutting drones, that we weren't fully saturating our bases on three bases. There was no 4th, and that Shin was going for an all-in. In a way, Shin was forced into the all-in, and Classic was just not quite ready for it. Only 1 shield battery at the third base. He was caught on the map as well. That was another big moment, if you remember, is that Classic was in the middle of pushing, and he was forced to recall. He was forced to recall back to the third base. That was just some free hits that his units were taking. And again, Classic was caught with his pants down, and now Shin has a 1-0 lead. Now we're getting into game number 2. Here we go. Game number 2, going to be on site Delta. And we'll see if Classic can bounce back. We shall see. And the pressure is on. As a reminder, all the matches in the GSL qualifiers are best of 3s, no best of 5s. None at all. which is crazy, by the way. For qualifying matches to be best of 3s. Aye. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of side Delta, we have the South Korean Zerg player. The Red Zerg leading the series 1-0, representing Gaimin Gladiators. It is SHIN. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. And we'll see if we do divert our course here. I mean, again, I'm sure... I wouldn't be surprised if Classic is a little bit frustrated after that game. Like, again, he played the early game as well as you could have, right? It's like he had such good unit control, such good micro with his oracles, with his adepts. Was just caught out by an all-in, despite doing so well. So we'll see if Classic can time things up. More than anything, it's just going to be about scouting information, about confirming the drone counts at the natural, at the third. Making sure that everything's on the up and up, to be able to react in time. Interesting. SHIN going for a hatch pool opener. Wait, what? Okay, yeah, SHIN going hatch pool gas here instead. Very interesting. This may have been a 14 hatch timing. I think it was actually, because the probe got here as the hatchery was already thrown down. Okay. SHIN is going to be settling in. Meanwhile, Classic just going for a gate expanded Cybercore, standard opener out of Classic. SHIN just going for a slight variation. Now we have our Queens on the way, making a handful of Lings to zone away this probe. And we're going to be settling into our game. Now, we should be seeing another Stargate opener based on the pylon location. The pylon is closer to the edge here, but my apologies. This is something very different. So I was going to say Stargate opener, and then I was going to talk about how Classic, he rarely, or he did spice things up a lot against Raynor. We saw a lot of Glaive Adept builds against Raynor in the Kung Fu Cup finals. But here we see something different. We're going for a Robo opener. Now, this should be a Disruptor drop based build. This should be Disruptors. But this could also be a bit of a Soul Train. This could be early Immortal production into a slow lot all-in, which we have also seen from Classic. We have seen it, I remember Hero did it against Raynor 2 weeks ago, going for the Immortal slow lot all-in. Gateways are on the way. And what do you have for us? Classic going for the Prism first, but I imagine we're going to be seeing Immortals thereafter, or do we go for the Bay? We have options. Oh, there we go. Third gateway has been thrown down. Did I say third gateway? Fourth gateway. That's going to be 5 gates in total. That's going to be 6 gates in total. It's a 2-base all-in. 2-base all-in here out of Classic. It does look like it's going to be a slow lot all-in as well. Yep, there we go. Immortals are on the way. Vanilla Zealots as well. Now, this slow lot build, I believe, originated, was it, do you remember, was it 2020 or 2021? What year was PAX Australia? But Haas made this build. Haas made this build during the COVID era of StarCraft. I haven't seen this build for a long time, but over the past, I want to say 2-3 weeks, we've seen Hero, Classic, and Haas even do it in the Asia regionals of EPT Spring. So for whatever reason, the build is like, it's trendy again after like a long hiatus. It is trendy once again. I remember when this build first like hit the scene, and it was disgusting. It was and there it is, the slow lot all in. Basically, Haas, he proved that you don't need a charge. You don't need the Zealots to be fast. They're good as they are. Slow lots, baby. Let's go. Send it. Back across the map, SHIN, he drone up to 46. We have a Roach Warren on the way. Ooh, that feels like a bit of a delayed Roach Warren, though, from SHIN. We only have Lings to defend. No Roaches, no Banelings. Only Lings and Queens. This is going to be brutal. The army has arrived. Classic pushing forward. Queens, they collapse on this from multiple angles. We're trying to get us around. We're going for the Prism. but the Prism does pull back. And again, you can kite against slow lots, but how far can you really kite back? Because you're up against the wall. The queens are going down one after the other, and Classic is snowballing out of control. Shin caught with his pants down. Roaches were just too little too late, and Classic ties up the series 1-1. GG. GG, well played. But again, this all in, it's for whatever reason, it's back. It's trendy again. It's within the minds of a lot of Protoss players, especially in South Korea. Hero, Classic, Haas, doing it again. GG. We have an ace match. Let's go. Is this live or a replay? It is a live cast of replays. For those who are maybe unaware, the GSL qualifiers were held last week. They were held last week, but the GSL qualifiers are not broadcasted. They're not broadcasted live. They're never broadcasted live. It's a rarity whenever it happens. I think the last time it happened was like in 2018, maybe 2017, long time ago, back in the day. So the GSL qualifiers are never broadcasted live for the most part, but they have given us access to the replays. So we have the replays available, and we're catching up with the qualifiers before the season of GSL begins. And here we go, the final qualifying match, the final game of the GSL qualifiers. Classic versus Shin, the ace match. Let's go. Parting Soul Train. Yes, when I said Soul Train, I was referring to the Soul Train, which we have also seen pop up from time to time, which is an Immortal Sentry based all-in, but here it's just the Haas Slow Lot all-in. It's a PSA for Protoss players out there. It's you don't need charge, baby. To be fair, if this was scattered ahead of time, if you're able to throw down a Roach Horn earlier, you give up on the third base, you give up on the third, you throw down some Sim City at your natural, and you can defend against it, you can hold, but you do need forewarning. You do need to scatter ahead of time and prepare for said build. I guess because it's been a while since this build has been popular, it's out of the mind of a lot of Zerg players as well. It's not really something that people are looking out for, which is, I guess, why it's a little bit more successful again. You know, the meta does ebb and flow. And if it's done too much, then we're going to be seeing some crisper defenses from Zerg players, I'm sure. Then it's going to fade away again, then come back in a couple of years. But here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Zerg player. The Red Zerg representing Gaimin Gladiators being forced into the ace match. It is Shin. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player. The Blue Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. We go, Classic able to bring it all back here, taking game number 2, forcing that ace match. And this could go either way. I said this before, but both players, they deserve to be in GSL, both Classic and Shin. Both deserve to be there, but only one can make it through this season. Only one. I was talking earlier about how Shin, I think it was like last season or the season before that, he didn't even qualify for GSL, which was brutal. Which was brutal for Shin. See if he can bounce back. Likewise, Classic, it's so much more important that he has a deep run as well here. I mean, again, he's been having a harder time in these ESL Open Cups. I say that again, did recently beat Raynor in a best of 5 in Kung Fu Cup. It goes to show that he is very much so in form, can take it to Shin. We'll see where this takes us. See where this does go. As Zero Lord Scout is going to be dipping in towards that natural. Trying to get a scat off. We do see Shin going for a standard opener. Now, what Classic has just done here is has shown us that he's willing to mix it up. I mean, we already knew that after casting against Raynor, but he is willing to mix it up. It just doesn't have to be a Stargate opener from him. I say that it is going to be a Stargate opener, but Shin is not fully aware. Shin still has to piece it together here. Stargate is on the way. Should we for Oracles? We could see a Void Ray opener as well. True. Void Ray openers are something that Classic was very fond of, especially last year in 2023. Like pre-IM Katowice, every ZVP Classic would open Void Ray. That was pre-IM though. Post-IM Katowice, it's fallen off quite a bit. So we're getting to our first unit of choice. It's going to be the Oracle. Oracle first by Classic. And winding it back, remember, game 1, Classic had a great start with his Oracle Harass and his Adept Harass as well. It was just the all-in that caught him off guard. Speaking of all-ins, Oceanborn is not a bad map for all-ins, especially off of 3 bases. This 3rd base is quite vulnerable, and we've seen time and time again Roach Queen-based all-ins from the side of Zerg, or even Twilight Council builds from the side of Protoss. So we'll see how this all does come together. Spores are on the way. Spore in the natural, Spore in the main. Queens are in position as well. We have 2 queens in the natural base. 2 queens in the main as well. So we should be able to hold on. Oracle gets 1, gets 2 drone kills. Backs off. Does take a bit of hull damage, but does get away. Does manage to get away. Behind this, we have the 2nd Oracle. We have a 3rd Oracle in production as well. So triple Oracle into a 3rd. Into, I imagine, +1 and Blink. Meanwhile, as the 3rd base is getting up and running, Classic, he can go for an extra warp in of Adepts. Can soon move out with his Adept Force, with those Oracles as well. Speaking of, we see some Adepts being active on the right-hand side. Shin making Lings as a response. Making sure he has an army to keep up with the Adepts. And there's that follow-up. Forge and Twilight Council is going to be +1, and Blink could also be +1 in charge. Also viable. Classic has options. So he's going to be moving up with his Oracles. Save Strap here into the 3rd base is going to be shut down. Whew, just in time. But the Oracles, they bust into the natural. Drones are going down. We get 5. We get 6 drone kills. Pretty good damage here from Classic. Revelation into the main. It's going to be a lair here from Shin alongside the Roach Warren. Curious. Getting into our lair, getting into our Roach Warren here. My eyes are on Shin, whether he does invest into something like Overlord Speed. But we're taking extra gases. Okay, we're taking all 6 gases. We're droning up. 4th hatchery's on the way. Shin is not going for an all-in. We're droning. Oh, and we see why we're taking 4 gases, and we see why we went for that lair when we did. It's a spire behind this, in between all the bases. We're headed towards Mutas. Now, if this goes unscouted, Mutas, they can snowball out of control quite quickly. We've seen time and time again, even players of the caliber of Classic, of Max Packs, of Hero, if a spire goes unscouted and Mutas, they can be so difficult to deal with. So difficult to respond and react to. Protoss do need to scout it ahead of time. We'll see if Classic can. I mean, he has these 3 Oracles. He's being active. He's moving out. And he did get some Revelations in the main and the 3rd, but he has not seen the tech. Not yet. Oracle's peeling off. Spire is almost done. Behind this, we're working towards 2nd Forge and Templar Archives. Classic is focusing on his main push. The Oracle is slipping into the main, but again, will we scout that Spire? Stasis gets thrown down. Only getting 1 drone. 4th base is getting up. The Revelation, but once again we don't get eyes on the Spire. Mutas are on the way, and we might be able to spot the Mutas as they pop out. And how hard do we commit? We have 6 Mutas in production. 6 is enough to one-shot a probe. They can one-shot workers. Can one-shot worker. Storm is finishing up. There we go. Mutas have been revealed. We have Phoenixes on the way. Phoenixes, cannon, shield batteries. Classic is getting ready. Stalkers in the main base as well. We're getting in position. Classic is aware. He hasn't had too much time to respond. There we go. Second Stargate gets thrown down. We can see, though, it's only 6 mutas. What I mean by that is that we're amassing a ground army. Shin, he's maxing out on full base saturation. 71 drones. He's focusing on Ling, Roach, Ravager. The mutas are forcing a big reaction. Now, we do have some storms. How many High Templar? 4. 4 storms are available. We throw down 2. We graze the army. Lings, they dive on top of it. And the storms are forced out. Archons are morphed in. We shut down the shield battery. We collapse on the Archons. With these Stalkers, can we barely hold on? Archons are going down. And Shin is rallying his reinforcements towards his 4th base. And Classic is getting caught out. We deny the Warpin. Just barely. We deny the Warpin. We force Classic out of the 4th base. And that's going to be a kill on this Nexus. Nexus is going to be going down. Classic trying to hold on. Blinking to the low ground. A bold move out of Classic. Desperately trying to hold on, but he bleeds out too much. He bleeds out a lot of Stalkers again. I wasn't able to save it. It was a rough decision to make, but Classic bleeds out a lot of Stalkers there trying to save that 4th. And Shinny's going for the kill. Snipes the Immortal. Won't break the 3rd though. Shin has to back off. Classic, he's holding onto his 3rd at least. And Classic did save his workers, is oversaturated. But it's still stuck to 3 Nexi. Shin backing off, and now we're droning. We're droning up, getting up to 80 workers. Droning up to 80, transitioning into Hydras, into Lurkers, into a Hive Tech. Classic leading out to 18 Stalkers there. Ay, ay, ay. Stalkers did go down. He's going to try to hold on to this 4th. Now, the problem here is that because we lost so many Stalkers, we're stuck at home. Like, Classy, he's stuck at home. He's stuck protecting his 4th base. And this means that Shin is free to tech up. He's free to drone. Hive is on the way. Lurker Den's on the way, as we mentioned. And Shin should be free to get into Hydra Lurker Viper, which is terrifying. And Classic, this is his only move here. Sky Toss. Fleet Beacon's on the way. He already has a double Stargate. We need to rush into Sky Toss, but this fleet beacon may be too late. Because Shin is going to hit first. He's going to hit first, and he's going to hit hard. Can we hold on? I do appreciate that we're amassing Immortals. That's going to be huge. Immortals can be an answer to a low amount of Lurkers. They can obviously do well against Roaches as well. And we are relying on a Roach-heavy composition. So the composition for Classic's looking solid. He just needs more time to amass a larger army. We have cannons and shield batteries here on the right hand side. We have a handful of cannons and shield batteries towards the left. Roaches, they run into the Immortals. At the same time, we push in on the right hand side. Big stasis on the Lings. Stasis on the Lings. Storm zones away the Roaches. There we go, 9 Lurkers on the way. Go for the Storm of the Roaches. Stasis does catch a good chunk of them. So far, good defense here out of Shin. But remember, this is all before the Lurkers. And the Lurkers, they're coming. That's 14 of them. This is the power spike of Shin. There's a window here where he has mass Lurker and the carrier count is just now starting. The first 2 carriers, they still need time to build up. Meanwhile, Shin... and he's on 5 bases. Rotating around. How many Immortals? We have 9 Immortals. Decent concave for Classic. But again, that's still 14 Lurkers. Big Storms. They do connect with the ground army with the Roaches and Hydras, but not on the Lurkers. You can see Shin having a hard time pushing up these ramps. And the carriers have arrived. 2 carriers in total. We do end up catching some of these lurkers as well. Ooh, big spine shots go up. They take down the High Templar. 2 of them. Storm sends away the Hydras. As he rotates towards the 4th base. And Spine Shot's taking down some Immortals as well. And there's not enough carriers. Or is there? Only a handful of Hydras. Storm zones them away. They're bleeding out a lot of lurkers. But Shin holds onto this position at the same time across the map as Zealot Runby does catch reinforcements. Very good trade. Classy, he catches some Hydras, catches some Lings. Very efficient here. Trading minerals for gas. And catching even more Hydras. And Shin has to race back home. Without reinforcements, he just cannot hold on. Does turn back around. And Classic is held. And he didn't lose any bases, didn't lose any workers. Classic is keeping up with Shin, if not overtaking him. Now, thankfully Shin has a Spire, or he already had the Spire earlier because of the Mutas, so Corruptors are on the way. Or amassing Corruptors. I am a little bit surprised that we have not gotten into Viper production. Yeah, not a single Spellcaster here for Shin. That is concerning. Just relying on Corruptor, Hydra Lurker instead. Meanwhile, Classic's building up. More Immortals are on the way. More Carriers. I would like to see some Archons. The problem here is that Classic doesn't know. He hasn't seen the reinforcements. He doesn't know that Corruptors are amassing. If he did, we would see Archons. Immortals are good, but Immortals do not shoot up. This Carrier army needs more support. Right now, that we're relying on Storm. Like, there's barely any Stalkers as well. Uh-oh. Only 3 Stalkers. No Archons. And we have 16 Corruptors. Oof. 1 High Templar goes down. Revelation on the Lurkers. Corruptors are sharking around as well. And when we engage, we should be able to shut down every single carrier. Big storms! Massive storms on the Lurkers. The Corruptors, they come in from behind. They collapse here on the carriers. And the carriers are going down. One after the other. They should all fall. Those are some nice storms here on the Lurkers. But we shut down the army. Again, Classic, he did not know that Corruptors were coming out. And yeah, we're chasing down the final carrier. Carrier does go down. There's one left. Now there's none left. Forcing a ground transition, but we have Lurkers. We have the Lurkers, Papi. We denied the Nexus. More Lurkers on the way. Shin is forced to back up. Forced to turn around for a moment. Trying to set up us around. Lurkers from one end, Lurkers from the other. Now we're collapsing on the army. We're going for the Observers. Observers get shut down. No detection. The Corruptors coming in clutch, killing the Carriers, the Observers, and the Oracles. And Shin takes a massive supply lead. Denies the 5th. Resets the Sky Toss. We have 1 carrier left. There you go. Oracles on the way. Observers being remade. A decent stasis here on the Lurkers. And once again, the Corruptors, they go for a dive. The overcharge will keep this carrier alive. Bit of an overextension by Shin. Does overextend with the Corruptors, but the Lurkers, they're gaining ground. They're getting damage done. They're going for the High Templar. No! As I'll say, try to come in from behind. But the Lurkers, yeah, they dominate the ground. They shut down the High Templar. It looks like Classic's going to be able to clean this up. He will force us back. The Archons just finish. We have Archons. Finally. Classic holds. Shin behind this has to back off. What are we rebuilding? That is the question. We're still stuck on Lurker Corruptor. Greater Spire just now finishing. Broodlords would be ideal. And there it is. Broodlords as if on cue. On the way. 3 Broodlords, a handful of Lurkers. Again, because we've killed so many carriers, we don't really need corruptors. Not too many, at least. Yeah, we're just focusing on Broodlord production instead. And Classic, he's not rebuilding his Sky Toss. So now is the time for Broodlords. Shin, we're gonna surround, we deny the Nexus. Deny that Nexus. Lings are getting caught out at least. Ooh, very nice storms. We clean up all the Lings. But the main army here for Shin, it is looking superior here. Composition is solid. Classic is getting back into carriers, thankfully. Okay, that's what we need. Carriers, even Tempest would be ideal. I mean, either or. They both have their place. But the problem is that Skytoss needs to snowball out of control. Skytoss needs to build up and then we get a death ball of an army. Classic was never able to get there. He needs more time. As he has to rebuild from scratch. Ruptures a force back. And Shin, he's just waiting to max out. We're just maxing out here with Broodlords, with more Corruptors. We're sprinkling in a couple of Spellcasters as well. I appreciate it. We have, how many? 2 Infestors, and now some Vipers on the way. Shin getting his ideal army, and building up a bank. Classic, at least he's gotten a 5th, which has allowed him to rebuild as well. But he's still playing catch-up. Has a lot of storms, at least. Does have a lot of storms available. Now, just like how before, Classic, he was caught off guard by the Mass Corruptor because he didn't see the Corruptor transition coming. Likewise, he hasn't seen the Broodlords. Has not seen the Broodlords. Otherwise, I do believe that we would see something like more Tempest to help deal and outrange the Broodlords. Carriers, they can be an answer, but it's a little bit more difficult because they have to close the gap. They have to get a little bit closer to actually deal with those Broodlords. They do expose themselves more compared to Tempest. But the big reason for that is that because we have yet to reveal the army. There we go, Broodlords. They do push in. They do yoink in the carriers. Decent storms. Storms here zone away the Corruptors, but we yoink another carrier. Fungal's gonna be landing. And we're down to 3 carriers left. Another Fungal as well. And good dodges on the Storm. And we're shutting down every single carrier. Oh, Storm once again zoning back those Corruptors. The Broodlords, they shut down all the Archons. One after the other. Yeah, we have to reinforce the Stalkers. We need something to protect the carriers. Anything. Classic, his army crumbles and we're pushing in once again. Storm going to be zoning Shin back for now. Meanwhile, remax on Lings. Lings, I mean, that's a good way to get collapse here on top of those High Templar. Storms are thrown down and yeah, we just collapse on the army. There's no holding back. High Templar shut down, the Immortals, the ground army crumbles, and now we can go to town on the carriers. Oh, there are 2 carriers left. And the base is going to fall. At the same time, it looks like we did bleed out a mineral line. The Zealots, they went ham. 19 drones went down. Impressive run by it. But the main armies, that's what matters right now. Now we're getting to Tempest. We spoke about it. Remember, Classic, he only just now saw the Broodlords during this fight. Did not know he needed Tempest until now. And now it's just too little too late. Classic has just been one step behind when it comes to the tech. It's like, sure, we have Tempest, but, you know, they have no other support here. Tempest, they're on their own. And SHIN, as he breaks the 5th, now he's going for the 4th. The final mining base here of Classic. And SHIN has done it. GG gets called. There was only one qualifying match left, and SHIN will qualify for this season of GSL. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to SHIN. My condolences to Classic. My heart bleeds here because Classic is one of the best Protoss players in all of South Korea, in the entire world even. We were praising Classic earlier for defeating Raynor at a best of 5. What was it, yesterday? The day before that? Did take down Raynor 3-1, looking very impressive there. And even here, Classic had his own moments as well. But in this final game, unfortunately, Classic was just having a really hard time getting a read on SHIN. Initially, unable to scout the Spire tech, the Muta transition or the Muta switch from SHIN. Unable to confirm the massive ground army as well. I do think that maybe the biggest misstep there from Classic was overextending and overprotecting his 4th. If you remember, when SHIN moved out on 70 drones, it was like a 4-base committed push on 71 drones. SHIN hit the 4th base, and as Classic was falling back, there was a moment where he started blinking forward. It was crazy. He started blinking forward down to the low ground, trying to save that 4th base, and in doing so, he bled out like an extra 10 Stalkers. It was a lot of Stalker kills when he decided to try and save the 4th, and he wasn't able to. Instead of just giving up on the 4th, he fought for it, and he bled out a lot, and that just gave SHIN so much breathing room to get into a higher lurker count and lurker tech, and it did feel like SHIN was just ahead from there and never really let that go. And with that, Classic has been eliminated from the Global StarCraft League. GG. GG, well played. Again, my condolences to Classic. He's an amazing player and he's deserving to be in GSL. But again, it just goes to show how brutal this tournament is and how brutal the qualifiers are. And now we can go over the brackets. We can finally go over the bracket itself. We have covered every single qualifying match. Are now done. And we can quickly head on over and catch up on everything that's been going on here. And have a look at who has made it and who has not in this season of GSL. Bam. There we go. From the top. Oh boy, this was a very interesting season here. We have our notable players. When it comes to notable players, we have Nice, who has been living in Korea for quite some time. Nice did compete alongside Raynor, of course, and Sort of. Those are 3 foreigners coming in from outside of South Korea, competing in this season's qualifiers. And yeah, we had some wild results. Raynor had an amazing run. I will say that he had a pretty fortunate bracket. Raynor, he took down Nice and he took down Bunny to qualify. He was able to avoid some of the other heavier hitters. So, yeah, solid run there by Raynor. Meanwhile, Nightmare was able to qualify alongside him. We had, I would say, the first upset. The first, like, surprising result here is Classic obviously not making it through. Here in Group B, Dark was able to make it through in first place, which makes sense. Did drop a map to Ryung, but Classic went down to Ryung here in the upper half of the bracket, and Classic got knocked out by Su as well. Unfortunately, we only had the replays of the qualifying matches. I would have loved to have seen this. These 2 matches are insane. Now, we have seen Ryung pop well. Like, we've seen Ryung defeat Showtime. We've seen Ryung defeat Hero. Like, Ryung, he has some killer TVP. Like, from time to time, he goes Super Saiyan. It's crazy. So I'm really curious how this series turned out. Likewise, this is shocking to me. Su, 2-0ing Classic and 2-1ing Ryung. I'm curious if the recent news has something to do with this. Su has been back from the military for a long time. He's been back for a long time, and he has yet to really break out. Unlike Hero and Classic, even though Su's been back for over a year, Su has not been able to break into the upper echelons of the region, and has yet to really kind of like reprise his place where it once was amongst the upper echelons of pro players. It feels like that's the case with both Su and TY as well. They've both been struggling to return, but this is a surprising result. And what I mean by like the recent announcements, Su did join DragonKaiZ Gaming. You can see up here, Su. He recently joined DragonKaiZ Gaming. He is the replacement for Dark. If you remember, Dark was on DKZ, and Dark left DKZ at the start of the year because we assumed that it was because Dark was going to be joining the military soon. So maybe DKZ's contracts are a little bit longer, and Dark was not confident that he would be a part of next season's WTL because of military service. So he joined Talent Esports. That was for IEM and for GSL, and now it's the next season of World Team League, and DKZ, they needed another player, and it's Su. And I'm sure DKZ have a pretty solid salary, I'll be honest. they probably have a really solid salary. So that's a big deal for Su. And now he can justify committing a little bit harder. Now he can justify practicing committing. For those that don't know, Su was part-time. A big reason why Su has had a bit of a lackluster return to StarCraft is that he's part-time. Like, he's got a full-time job and he plays StarCraft in his free time, essentially. But now that he's joined DragonKaiZ Gaming, maybe he's going to take it that much more seriously. And with that, qualifying for GSL, that's already a big first step. Taking down Classic and Ryung. I'm really curious to see how well Su will perform and how much he has improved. So I'm really excited about that. Scrolling down, we had Solar alongside Creator. Solar, he was able to come out in first place, took down DRG and Creator. Creator 2-0'd SHIN. That's a big win for Creator. Taking down SHIN 2-0, took down Chance. Creator even beating SHIN in the rematch. SHIN. He fought his way back up, but got knocked down by Creator once again. Big wins there for Creator. Again, I do rate Creator quite highly. I would still rate or rank Classic one step higher than Creator here, but regardless, Creator does make it through. Scrolling down, we casted all the qualifying matches. Gumiho did take down Beyond 2-0. Rogue with the upset. What did Rogue do here? He took a game off of Gumiho. Rogue took down TY 2-1 and took down Beyond 2-1 as well. This was a big upset, but if you remember, these were some messy games, and Beyond was playing like an animal. Beyond, we even saw it earlier today against SHIN, right? Where Beyond, he was playing so greedily time and time again, going for like not scouting in any game, cutting corners wherever he could. Beyond was wild in these qualifiers, and Rogue was able to punish him. Rogue was able to punish him in the end. And down here, this is where we lament a little bit. Who did not make it into GSL? Bunny did not make it into GSL. Ryung didn't make it into GSL. And neither did, Bunny and Ryung. They did both fail to qualify. So did Nice alongside Classic. Oof, it is brutal. And again, if only GSL was a little bit bigger, if only we had a little bit more room, it would have been amazing. We are going to be missing out on some amazing players here. So yeah, again, this does mean that Classic needs to perform a little bit better in events like WTL. There's so much more pressure now on Classic to perform better in online tournaments and in WTL because, I mean, again, he's an amazing player and now he's not a part of GSL. That's a big blow here when it comes to his earnings, when it comes to how he can sustain himself over the next season of StarCraft. So there's a lot more onus on Classic, and I'm sure he's going to be playing in every single ESL Open Cup and KSL and Kung Fu Cup and WTL, of course. Classic needs to be that much more active to make up for no GSL payout. Likewise, Bunny, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Bunny because Bunny is on a new team. If you remember, he's on Team Falcons. And I'm sure they're not happy with recently picking Bunny up and Bunny not making it into GSL. On top of that, Bunny is also not on a WTL team. He's not in WTL as Team Falcons. They did not partner with any other team. So Bunny has that much less to compete in, which means he has that much less reason to practice, that much less reason to to improve. So I'm a little bit concerned for Bunny. I hope he sticks with us. I hope he stands strong here. It is brutal not making into GSL in such a way. Have you already casted the Su games? We casted all the GSL matches. What is WTL? WTL is World Team League. World Team League. If you are unfamiliar with what World Team League is, if you're maybe an old school viewer, if you know what Pro League was, WTL is basically the new Pro League. It's like the most important Team League match right now, and there's a lot of money in WTL. All the best teams are in WTL, like CranKy Gaming, Basilisk, Team Liquid, Shopify. There's like WTL has become a really important tournament now for a lot of players, especially the Korean players, because obviously the Koreans don't have EPT. They don't have EPT to play in. So World Team League has become quite prestigious over the past couple of years. Have become quite prestigious. So yeah, unfortunately, again, Bunny is not a part of that because Team Falcons don't have a team for WTL. So quite prestigious. So oh my god. Yeah, unfortunately, again, Bunny, hearing myself, Jesus. So yeah, that's gonna be huge. Speaking of, we have a little bit of time to go over some of tonight's broadcasts. We're wrapping up with the GSL qualifiers. We just casted every single qualifying match, and in 30 minutes, in half an hour, day 1 of this season of WTL is here. And I actually haven't really paid attention to I actually haven't really looked at the matchups, so let's have a look. So in 30 minutes, we were just talking about WTL. WTL begins. Code S for World Team League begins in 30 minutes. This is the lineup. We have Team Vitality, which is Maru, Ryung, and Solar, basically ex onside. Shopify, Team Liquid, Starlight Twinkle, Offside Esports. We have Platinum Heroes plus R8. That is basically Platinum Heroes plus Kellizer. Kellizer is on R8. We have Twisted Fairy, Mystery Gaming, Basilisk plus Showtime. I found it very funny that this is proper, where it's Platinum Heroes plus R8, like the teams have joined forces. Here, this should be Big Basilisk. Showtime is on Berlin International Gaming. He's on Team Big. So this should be Basilisk plus Big, but it's Basilisk plus Showtime for some reason. It's they're excluding the team, which is weird. It's a bit odd. But regardless, this is huge. Basilisk, I'll be honest, they're a good team, that is true. But Basilisk, their weakest link has always been Trigger. I think even Trigger would say that. Trigger, he has always been the weakest link of Basilisk. Showtime is a big addition for Basilisk, and Showtime competing alongside Raynor and Serral, that is a team. Like that's a hefty team if I've ever seen one. So Basilisk, I'm sure they're upset about last season. Basilisk, for those who don't know, they came second. They did not win. They came second to Team Vitality, or to Onside, in the last season of WTL. So now they're coming in with Showtime, and that's going to be an interesting one. Meanwhile, we have Psystorm Na'Vi. That is basically Psystorm with Spirit. Again, like, Psystorm Na'Vi makes sense. Platinum Heroes R8 makes sense. For some reason, we're just leaving out Showtime's team. I don't it's a bit weird, but okay. We have Berserker Esports and Dragon Kaizi Gaming as well. So this is your Code S for WTL, and tonight's matches. Let's quickly over them. We have Vitality versus Rankaiser Gaming. Ooh, a big lineup here. We have Maru versus Jeshi, Solar versus Oliveira, and Ryung versus Hero. Now, what's interesting about this lineup, I was just talking about how Su qualified for GSL. We just saw that. He qualified for GSL. Su just joined DKZ. Su's not here. That's a bit weird. Maybe Su isn't available, but I would rate Su higher than Jeshi, so I imagine if Su was available, they would field him. For whatever reason, Su isn't here, so DKZ, they have a bit of a weaker lineup as a result. In general, Dragon Kaizi Gaming, they are a big team. They are, what is it, like a 4-time WTL winner? Like, they've won WTL four seasons in a row before the last couple of seasons. Now that they've lost Dark, their lineup is weaker. It is significantly weaker here, and that is going to shake up the hierarchy of World Team League without Dark. So that's going to be huge. Meanwhile, after that series, we have Shopify Rebellion versus Berserker Esports, Hearthstone versus Battle B, Scarlet versus DNS, and Ryung versus Gung Fu Banda. Interesting. So Shopify, they're missing Lambo. Oh, sorry, there we go. Shopify, they're missing Lambo, so they're fielding Hearthstone instead of Lambo. I do like Hearthstone specifically in WTL though. even though nowadays Hearthstone, he's more of a like, he's turning into Euthermal. He's like the content man, you know. He's all about the content, all about those YouTube thumbnails. But I do like both Euthermal and Hearthstone in this format. For those that are curious, when it comes to the format of WTL, it's a best of 2. It's a best of 2 losers pick, and you have some time to prepare for the first match. So Hearthstone, Scarlet, Beyond, their opponents as well, they have time and they have been preparing specifically for their opponents and specifically for this starting match. And in the back of their mind, they also have planned, in case they lose game 1, they have their build and their map set up for game number 2, because it's losers pick for that second map. So because of that, preparation is a big factor in WTL. Like, bigger that this is why, if you've watched WTL before, there's a lot of upsets. We've seen Firefly take down Serral. We've seen, I think, Jeshi take down Clem. Like, this format does favor more prepared players over more like generally strong players. That's why we've seen like Serral fall time and time again, or even Maru slip up. Like, we've seen some big names fall to lesser players because of that. So again, because I do like Hearthstone, or in general, I remember Shopify, they had an interview last season and they spoke about how they prepare a lot for WTL. Like, they take WTL very seriously and they spend a lot of time preparing for their matches. So I look forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun, in my mind. It is going to be a lot of fun. And who do I want to favor here? In general, I favor Vitality over DKZ. When it comes to Shopify versus Berserker, it's going to be interesting. I do think this is the strongest Berserker lineup. They have DNS, they have Gung Fu Banda, they have Battle B as well. I think Battle B versus Hearthstone is going to be close. And I think Scarlet versus DNS is going to be close as well. I think Beyond is favored versus Gung Fu Banda. I would not be surprised if we get 1-1s. If we get a 1-1 score here, 1-1 score here as well. Gung Fu Banda is very hit and miss. Very hit and miss when it comes to his form recently. He can pop off and look insane, or he can kind of crumble under the pressure. So this is going to be an interesting one. If you're interested, if you are curious, and if you want to get your Gamba going, we have a prediction game. No, obviously there's no real gambling going on, but we have a prediction game going on in our Discord for WTL. So if you're interested, you can join our Discord server, and we do have a specific channel for WTL predictions, and we're keeping score on everyone's rankings and on everyone that's going to be predicting week after week after week. We're going to be tracking our rankings, our performances, and basically it's like it's kind of like fantasy football, I guess. I don't know. Like, we're just keeping track of each other, and we're going to have like a rankings week after week, and we're just having fun in our Discord server. If you're curious, if you're interested, if you want to join in the prediction game, you can do so. I'm pretty sure I predicted Shopify to win this, but I think I went 1-1, 1-1, 2-0, and Shopify winning in the ace match. I think that's what I went for. Here, similarly as well. My spicy take is I believed in the 1-1 score of Ryung and Hero. I went 1-1 for this. Look, Papi. You saw earlier, Ryung beat Classic. I believe. If Ryung can beat Classic, he can take a game off of Hero. I believe, Papi. I believe. I believe in my Ryung. In my Tunitarin. I didn't quite have as much faith in Jeshi. Not as much. But yeah, if you're interested, exclamation mark Discord in the chat. Can any shadows find the Sue Classic game? Me and Torn, I mentioned before that only the qualifying matches were handed out. Classic versus Sue was not a qualifying match, unfortunately, so there's no record of it. We only know the score. There's no matches available unless specifically Sue and Classic save that replay themselves and they have it somewhere, which I guess you can try to reach out to them, but outside of that, like, unfortunately we don't know what happened in those games. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. I know. It would have been amazing to cast. Would have been amazing. Anyway, we are going to be heading off. We're going to be heading off for now. We're going to be going on a short half-hour break. When we return, we will have WTL You can see here it's starting up in 25 minutes. In 25 minutes time, I'm going to be back here on the channel. This stream is going to be going down. I'm going to be restarting the stream because I have to set up the overlays and change the delay and adjust some things. So the stream is going to be going down, but we're going to be back in 25 minutes. See you then for World Team League. See you then. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. We do appreciate it. Exclamation mark socials in the chat if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. And we'll be back later on tonight with World Team League. See you then. Ciao, papi, ciao. See you then.